Greetings and salutations. It is I, the REM Whisperer, and I'm coming to you today to talk about something called sleep. You know, a lot of people think that sleep is just something simple. You know, people think that sleep is just something that we do. But a lot of people don't know the mechanics of it. And as a sleep specialist, which is what I am by trade, I find that most people's problem with sleep comes with not knowing, first and foremost, what sleep is. They don't know about the mechanics of sleep. They don't understand how important it is to have a good sleep architecture. So that's why I'm here. So I want you to join me as we begin this episodic journey into the myths, mysteries, and mechanics of sleep. First and foremost, let's talk about what sleep is. By definition, sleep is a condition of the body and mind that typically recurs for several hours every night, in which the eyes are closed, the postural muscles are relaxed, and the activity of the brain is altered. And during this time, consciousness of the surroundings are practically suspended. Basically, what that means is that we're in a state of almost semi paralysis where we are not moving and our brain and bodily functions are almost on autopilot. They are running at the very lowest level to try to conserve as much energy. They want to keep our temperature regulated and keep us in a level of homeostasis that is just homeostasis means our optimal level. That is the levels where our temperature and everything is at optimal levels for optimal performance. That's what homeostasis is. So when you're asleep, your body wants to go into the optimal homeostasis for sleep. And that is just where you're not, your heart rate is lower. Your breathing is more structured and more rhythmic, um, except in cases of sleep apnea. But that is something we will discuss at another time because that in itself is a monster of another creation. So when you're sleeping, your body basically is the reason sleep is so important is because your body is working to support healthy brain function and maintain physical health. Now, in children and teens, it is especially important because it helps support growth and development. That is when children grow. That is when they produce all of the hormones they need for maturation, for all adolescent growth, for puberty. So if they're not getting the proper amount of sleep, if they're not getting that 8 to 9 hours, and yes, that is still something that they need to have 8 to 9 hours. I will go into that. That's another episode as well. But that just means you have to listen more. But getting inadequate sleep over time can raise your risk for long term and chronic health problems. So if you don't get enough sleep, it can do things like it can lower your sex drive, it can weaken your immune system, it can cause mental and cognitive issues, it can lead to weight gain, it can also increase your risk of certain cancers, diabetes, and even simple, well, not even simple, but things such as nodding off, and causing car accidents. A lot of those things are just it's not good to you have to get that sleep. Now, do people have to get that 8 hours of sleep? That is actual more subjective because as a child into the teens, yes, it is good. Different people need different amount of sleep because some people can cope with much less sleep and some people need very more. So the first 3 hours of sleep are the deepest stages of sleep. And then In the later parts of the sleep, we have more stages with the vivid dreams or the rapid eye movements or REM sleep. Now, sleep itself is broken down. Now, sleep itself is broken down into four different stages. You have stage one, which is what they call sleep onset. That's when you're sitting there and you're nodding off and you're kind of aware of what's going on around you, but you're not able to really move. Your body is starting to get real sluggish and you're starting to fade out. And then you have stage two. Now, stage two is where most of the actual sleep occurs. That is when you have your presence of your K complexes and your spindles and, things like that. And then you progress into what they call slow wave sleep or that stage three sleep, that deep sleep. That is when your body repairs and restores. That is the period where it is just crucial for optimal health. The less of the stage three that you have, the more health issues you're more than likely going to experience throughout so when you have a plethora of health issues, you're going to find that your stage three sleep is going to be diminished more than likely. Now, children, they have most of their sleep is stage three because, like I said, that is when they grow. That is when their immune system strengthens. That is when they do all of the things they need to do to be healthy and stay healthy and grow as they should mentally and physically. And an average sleep cycle lasts between 90 and 120 minutes. So that normally means roughly every 2 hours of sleep, you should be going through a full sleep cycle. Now, during the night, you have brief arousals that come throughout the night, but most of the time, we're not aware of those arousals. Arousals can be just if you cough in your sleep or, if you have an apnea or if you have muscle pain or anything like that, changing positions, all those are called arousals and they break the sleep. And depending on the length of them, sometimes we can go right back into sleep. Sometimes it actually wakes us up. So depending on those arousals, that depends on your arousal index. Now, the timing for our need for sleep is based on two things. The first is how long we've been awake, and the second is our body clock or our circadian rhythm. Now, if we stay awake all night long, you'll feel more tired at 4 a.m. than you will at 10 a.m. Now, they call that time between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., they call that the dead zone because that's when they say that our body is dead tired. Now, and you cannot make yourself fall asleep. Just like you can't digest your food faster. You can't make your food digest faster. You can't make yourself fall asleep. Sleep onset is something we cannot control. We can only create the right conditions for sleep in our minds, in our environment. And those things include having the right temperature in the room, having the right pillows, making sure that the room is quiet. You don't want to, sleeping with the television on and lights on and things like that. All those things can hamper falling asleep, and hinder our sleep architecture. Now, sleep itself is something that the concept of sleep, having sleep architecture, that is when you are establish a bedtime. You have a bedtime and a wake time. And the best thing you can do is adhere to it as often as possible because your body is on a timer. It's a creature of habit. So when you are used to going to bed at a certain time or you are used to waking up at a certain time, even as hard as you may try, you'll still adhere to that unless you make the conscious effort to change and make the appropriate changes for your sleep architecture. So that means going to bed at a decent hour, which will allow you to get the proper amount of sleep throughout the night. That means going to bed. The bed itself should be used for two things and two things only: sleep and adult activities. Not reading, not playing on our phones, not watching television, not playing on the tablet, laptops, etc., etc. When it's time to go to bed, turn everything off. That's the easiest way to do it. If you do not do that, you will find that it will be harder to fall asleep in bed. If you read, I'll just use this for an example. If you read for an hour every night in bed before you go to sleep, your body is going to take roughly an hour to fall asleep. That's going to be your pattern. When your body hits the bed, that's when you are going to start your wind down period, but the timer is going to start at 60 minutes. So if you get in bed and when you get in bed you go to sleep, it's pretty much your body's going to know when you get in bed and pull those covers up, it's going to be night night, 90 shoo shoo time. But a lot of things about sleep, they're finding now a lot of problems with sleep are genetically, or have been learned to be genetically controlled. Um, they've recently identified a gene that makes people cope more easily with lack of sleep. Some people just have what they call a lower sleep debt. Some people can function with 5, 6 hours of sleep and be totally fine. Other people, if they don't have that 8 hours, and some people get 8 hours, and then they're still tired all day long. So, in saying that, the main important thing is get to establish that sleep architecture and adhere to it. Now, as far as establishing sleep architecture and things like that, we're going to discuss that as well as some of the things such as sleep apnea and primary snoring in the next episode. So, for everybody out there listening, watching, tune in again. Same sleep time, same sleep channel.